Podcast, WATP.
Johnny Crutches is on the show, and Johnny Crutches doesn't know anything about anything. So he typically doesn't open his mouth. His role is more to be a guy who looks like he's dozing off while Aaron is passionately talking about nonsense. But in this clip that I have, he actually thinks he understands what's going on with Chad and Super Tip, which is laughable.
And so you were saying something about, like, I guess Chad got cheated? And I'm sitting here listening to this. I'm like, oh, thank Christ. Never did. Apparently, you have to let Melton access your computer to sign up for Super Tips.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I get it. I have multiple sclerosis and a doctor's note saying I'm retarded. But do people think I'm literally that retarded? I'm not giving anyone access to my computer. This Super Tips thing just sounds like the scariest, like the stupidest. Like, oh, I wonder if I could give a complete untrustworthy piece of shit a backdoor into all of my stuff.
Well, now, in fairness, the only reason it takes off, the only reason any of this takes off, pure hatred of Steel Toe.
Could these guys be more myopic? He thinks the only reason why Super Tip is a system people use is because of him. Aaron, you have nothing to do with Super Tip. Absolutely nothing to do with it. Bubba the Love Sponge is on it, and Perry Caravello, and a whole bunch of people who are not part of the Dabbleverse at all, and even people who don't give a shit about you who are in the Dabbleverse are using Super Tip. Now, what Johnny doesn't understand, the reason why Patrick Melton had a remote into Chad's computer is because Chad is retarded. He doesn't understand basic instructions. Everyone else who's got set up on Super Tip, including myself, were able to figure it out. We didn't have to have Patrick and Moody log into our computers and click the buttons for us. And so they hear that Chad did that, and they go, oh, that's how you get on Super Tip. You have to give Melton all your passwords and access to your storage account and cloud storage and all the files and email addresses, passwords. Obviously not the case. That's ridiculous. Patrick Melton was doing Chad a solid by spending 90 minutes with him, remoting into his computer to get this set up for him because Chad was freaking out about monetization. So he did him a favor. And these
what
idiots,
do they say that? Sorry, what do they say that Melton's going to do? He's going to get in there. The point is for him to get into everyone's computers, and then what?
Well, I think what he's going to do is he's going to put viruses on everyone's computers, and then he just has a kill switch. So if they get on their show and they start talking shit, he just, boom, computer's done. Locked forever. He'll never get in it again.
I think it was Cardiff that said that he can reroute the bank accounts so that all the money comes into somebody else's account instead of theirs. You can do that remotely, too.
Remember when John thought that his, the 21st was coming around, and he thought that all his YouTube money was going to go into Cardiff's bank account? It's like, what kind of world do these people live in where they think any of this is a possibility? And are they that dumb? Do they think their audience is that dumb? I think Johnny is that dumb. I don't think he knows what the fuck he's talking about, but he's talking. And I love these guys because they believe whoever is against the people they don't like, hence believing Chad Zumock, the man who lies more times per minute than anyone I've ever met.
The Chad Zumock thing, I think, is a perfect example. Chad got his monetization taken away on YouTube. He signs up for the Super Tips. He bends the knee. He says one critical thing of Patrick on MLC, and Patrick takes away a bunch of his voices and stops giving him technical support because Patrick can't handle being mocked because, again, Patrick is projection. His whole, feel thing, people feel. Bro, we all make you feel way more like the rest of us don't think about you.
You bring him up all the time. You're bringing him up now. I've seen countless examples. I mean, we get into this on This Little Pig here. If you watch Nobody Likes Onions, we don't do as much on WATP about Aaron. But there's so many times the conversation is about something completely different. And Aaron will just be like, yeah, and Patrick Melton is going to say blah, 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 blah. And it's like, whoa, what's going on in the back of your head that you're bringing him up? And now he's trying to say that we don't think about you at all, Patrick Melton. It's become a focal point of every episode of the show that he does. But they believe Chad Zumock. And that, Chad, all he did was say one little thing about Patrick, and then Patrick freaked out and took away all of his voices and everything. What happened was, I'll explain this real quick. Patrick went out of his way to help out Chad when Chad needed a friend, needed someone to help him out because he lost his monetization. And as a result of that, Chad made hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I don't know the exact amount. If you go to those shows, he was streaming 2 or 3 times a day because the money just kept coming in, and Chad couldn't help. He was so excited, and he was loving it. He's like, "This is so fun. This is amazing." He was loving the super tip system. He's getting all this money from it, and then what does he do? He goes on MLC and starts calling out Patrick Melton and saying all this shit about him. Where Patrick's just like, "Well, dude, I just did you a favor. I'm allowing you to use this system that you needed at that time, and you immediately turn around and talk shit to be friends with Kevin Brennan again." So Patrick's like, "All right, well, I don't need to do you any more favors. I'm not going to help you with any more tech support because that's not part of this system. You don't sign a contract that gives you so many hours of tech support." And he goes, "Also, the AI voices, everyone generates their own AI voices. When you go to supertip.gg/WATP, which I see some of you are doing right now, and I appreciate that, you'll see Adam Bush is in there and Dr. Steve and guys from Who Are These Socials like Woke Dad and John Sarasani. And like we have all these voices that are part of the WATP and Who Are These Worlds that we use with SuperTip. Chad developed none of these. He just goes, "Yep, I'll take Cardiff." No, not Cardiff. He won't take Cardiff. "I'll take a Tukey, and I'll take a Melton, I'll take Carl, and I'll take..." And so he didn't develop these voices. They're not his. So Patrick just goes, "All right, you can just have your voices." He's got 3 right now. Which
it's like a soundboard.
It's how it works. And I even heard Patrick talking about this where he goes, people ask for voices that have already been developed. And guys like Perry Caravello are like, "No, you can't have my voices. Those are my voices." They want it to be exclusive to his channel. Makes sense. Mm-hmm. If I want to talk as Evil Tukey, I have to go to this show to do it, or that show to do it. Kind of makes sense. But these guys have turned this all into, it's all, "Oh, Patrick's so sensitive and he's being such a little bitch that he took all this stuff away from Chad. He did nothing but tons of favors, bent over backwards, it's hunchback over backwards to help Chad out when he needed help. And Chad couldn't help himself. Couldn't go a weekend without calling Patrick out for it."
He creates this stuff for himself. He really does. I was trying to figure out why the next day he was screaming that Patrick took away all his voices. I only have these 3 left. He doesn't want me to have these voices. And I remember thinking, why? Why would he, what would be in it for him to do that? Both Chad and KB have no experience in things going well. So they're just so waiting for that other shoe to drop. If it doesn't happen, they just drop it themselves and go, "See, I knew it."
Yep. Yeah. Chad should have Chrissy Mayer on there and Anthony Cumia and all of the cucks on his, I don't know what the rebrand's going to be, but he should have these voices on his show. And instead he just grabs all the things that we had already developed for our shows. And these guys don't understand any of it. Aaron, earlier on in this episode, was talking about how there were people calling up the, where they're having the golf tournament. They were calling up, I don't know if it's a country club. It's probably not a country club, but whatever it is, public golf course. People were calling it up and asking questions about Aaron's golf tournament because it's happening on the Sunday, the weekend of his 11th anniversary, where they're doing a cornhole tournament and then a comedy show and then karaoke. And then the next day, there's a golf tournament. And so people are calling and asking about the golf tournament. And from what I've heard, the golf course is like, "We don't know anything about a golf tournament," because Aaron didn't actually create a golf tournament with the golf course. He just grabbed a bunch of tee times and he's just going to run it himself. So he got a call from the golf course saying "Yeah, we're getting calls asking about this tournament." And so he goes on and says this.
Oh, so I apologize to Patrick and Moody and Carl and all of your fans. You took another shot. You failed a lot with the toe, but you took another shot. You did miss again, but hey, you haven't given up. And that's what's important.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So let's look at it this way. You've technically lost nothing. You're just right back where you started.
Hey, you guys, look, if you hadn't called at all, you would have gotten the same result, but there would have been no effort. So congratulations.
All right. I wonder what it's like to be my enemy. I'm up to so much nefarious stuff behind the scenes all the time. It's all I consume myself with is trying to get people's gigs canceled and calling up golf courses in Minnesota and pranking them and trying to fuck with Aaron's event. where is this coming from? This is the opposite of anything that I ever do. And I get lumped into that. Like, oh, yeah, this was my plan to get your event shut down. I not only want your event to happen, I want a bunch of dabblers there filming it from every angle.
Absolutely.
I'll do the editing myself. I'll piece it all together. We'll watch it for days on this show. Aaron loves to say that we tried to get a show canceled. We want to get a show canceled. We're mad. We're seething because he's still on the air. We want you doing 2 shows a day. We want you stretching out 5-6 hour long programs because you're desperate for money and that's all you can do to make money is just stay online. He doesn't understand the motivation at all of what we're doing over here, it seems.
Never stop gaslighting, Aaron.
Right.
It's also wish fulfillment because I don't think he wants to do these shows or these events. I think he's been checked out for a long time. And it's almost like, John, you don't want me to do stand-up. You're going to kick me off the internet. He just wants to go.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to organize these events. We saw that last year, his big 10th anniversary. There was going to be the roast of Aaron. He was going to bring all these people in that were on the show before, and then that fell apart. And then he was going to bring all these radio stations in, and that fell apart. And then he was going to do, all these different things, and it turned into just a shit show of drunk people chanting, and Aaron having nothing figured out. Johnny Crutch is not able to get off the stage. Like that's... He doesn't know how to organize these events. That's what we love about that. I would never try to get one of these things shut down.
I'll do you one better. He wanted to fight everyone in Vegas.
That's right.
And we were willing to do it for him, organize it for him.
Correct.
And he found a way out of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Rocco was going to Safe Sport, figuring out what the credentials he needed and what we all needed to do in order to be able to legally face him in the ring.
And Aaron's like, oh, I wasn't expecting that.
No, Aaron said that we all back down. Aaron just creates his own. It's a weird world to live in. And I have one more example here where Aaron's a tough guy to follow because he lives in a fantasy world. And he speaks to it as if it's reality. And I don't know if he's trying to wish it into existence or if he's gaslighting his audience or if he says it enough times, it'll soothe him and he'll feel better about what's actually happening. So the big news right now in his world is that this guy, Gabe Hoffman, is going to be interviewed on Keanu's show tomorrow night. And Gabe Hoffman has digged up some dirt apparently on Nick Rekieta, and they're going to go on there and show what a bad guy Nick Rekieta is. And so Aaron on his show today is talking about how Nick is trying to get out in front of it, and Nick is on his stream talking about Gabe Hoffman and what they might be talking about and trying to say, like, if they say that I'm abusive to my family or my kids, it's just not true. Like, that's what Nick is saying. Now, Aaron has also tried to get in front of things often. I'll give you the latest example. When Moody was able to figure out every time he logged into Kiwi Farms, and he saw from a Discord comment that there was going to be something about that, he went on a show and he just goes, hey, and guys, just so you know, like, I open up my phone, my browser, I have 3 tabs open at all times: Sports Scores, Twitter, and Kiwi Farms. So it might look like I'm going there a lot, but I'm not. He was saying that beforehand. And then we showed the graphs and we proved that, no, you have to go into Kiwi Farms and use it in order for it to register as a ping and show this. And then he dropped it, deleted his account or whatever he has to do to log in and never talked about it.
He's thinking, well, I tried.
But he's the king of trying to get out in front of things. And he's criticizing Nick Rekieta here for doing just that. And he just makes shit up. It's an amazing fantasy world that he does. So try to follow this.
He goes, they're going to come out and say, he said this. He goes, they're going to come out and say that I choke slammed my son at the chiropractor. Because somebody in a report claimed that I choke slammed my kid at the chiropractor. Now, I don't think anybody said he choke slammed his kid. I'm guessing somebody probably said they saw him put the hand on his kid's neck up against the wall or something like that.
What?
Much better.
Yeah.
What is going on right now? He just invented that out of nowhere. And what Aaron does is he just builds on these fantasies that he has. So now I've established that as fact. So now let's move on and what's going to happen from there. And it just builds and builds and builds.
If there's something that offends them so deeply, why do they keep repeating it over and over again? We didn't need a visual demonstration of what it's like to choke a kid out. We got it. And you said it like 4 times. Yep. We don't need your hand in the camera. What is this obsession? It's weird.
Well, he needs to really drive home the fact that Nick Rekieta is a bad guy.
It's having the opposite effect. It's making us think that he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
If someone said that happened, What motivation did they have to lie? Because that puts them in a really weird, it's a weird spot where now you have to invest time and energy to go talk to people and tell them that.
This is crazy. Aaron just said, and try to wrap your mind around this. Aaron just said if someone accuses someone of doing something, they definitely did it. Because why would anybody lie about anything? Has there ever been a scenario where someone lied about someone doing something they didn't actually do in order to harm that person or to get away with something? I mean, I guess not.
I can't think of any.
Yeah, so I guess if someone accuses someone of doing something, then they definitely did it. But then Aaron, after saying that, goes, oh, that's right. There was that harassment restraining order that my ex-wife took out against me, where in that court order, it talked about how I headbutted my wife, April, and strangled her so hard she couldn't breathe. Or squeezed her. Not strangled. Squeezed her so hard she couldn't breathe. So Aaron remembers that after saying, if someone accuses someone of something, then they definitely did it. Why would they lie? And now he has to address that.
Who's going to do that?
Who's going to do that?
Who's going to just make that up? I'm sorry, but even in the bullshit that got put out there in that HRO thing, that made that April bullshit, even with that, I was like, hey, we had a fight. We got really close to each other. I didn't hit her. I didn't squeeze her, choke her, headbutt her, anything. But there was a fight, and we did get really close. We were screaming at each other. Yeah, a fight happened. Something happened. Where there's smoke, there's fire. You don't come out and say, oh, none of that ever happened. It was all made up out of whole cloth. That makes you look like a liar.
See, this is what's so weird about this. I don't understand his argument here.
No.
So he's already made up what this guy Gabe is going to say and what Nick said that he's going to say and that it's not true. We don't know any of this. None of this has happened yet. And he's going on there and going guys, I fessed up. I mean, all the stuff that April said about me was bullshit, but I did fess up that maybe there was something close to that happened. But Nick is a bad guy because he's going to pretend nothing happened when obviously something must have happened. And why else would he be accused of something? And I don't think Aaron's a dumb guy. That's what's so weird about this. When he says shit like this, you're just like, dude, what?
No, he's blinded by his hatred for Nick. He would chop off his own dick if he thought it would hurt Nick, and he wouldn't understand why everyone was screaming at him. He would just be standing there, holding it in his hand like, look, we got him.
Got him.
You sure got him, buddy. It's time to go to bed.
Look at his face right here, too. I know Nick's not a great guy. I know that for various reasons. This guy looks like the villain in this scenario. Look at how
He really does.
Yeah, I think there's smoke and fire here.
When you come out and get ahead of something and go, hey, this thing that people claim they saw and that multiple people have backed up, well,
now it's not only that this happened, but multiple people have backed it up. We haven't even heard what's going to happen yet. Gabe Hoffman hasn't had this interview yet.
Right, yeah.
This is crazy.
That's his MO, though, man.
Yeah, because you get confused enough as a viewer and you just go, God, yeah, I guess Nick beat his kids then. Jeez, that's awful.
It's just easier to believe what Aaron says because this is
so stupid.
Me, the person who's accused of doing that thing, I say it never happened. Not like they had it wrong or here was the context or here's what actually happened. Just made it up out of whole cloth. You don't look believable.
So that's crazy. And Aaron's getting worse and worse with this stuff. I mean, we talked about it when he was saying that I'm bitter because I don't have children. That was quickly disproven by his own chat. You're like, Aaron just makes shit up and he goes with it. And he comes up with more and more examples. Like as soon as he hears something about someone he doesn't like, he tries to piece that together with anything else he can think of to prove they're a bad person. Can you believe Nick is saying he never laid a hand on his kid? When, I mean, why would they just make that up? There's tons of people who saw him do it. It's like, whoa.
What's the best revenge?
Living a great life. Yes. Not worrying about Nick Ricada anymore. It's amazing what April did to these guys. April has these two guys still fucking reeling. They have not gotten over it. It's been over a year.
She must be amazing.
I'm sure she's fine.
There's also a Brokeback Mountain element to both Nick and to Aaron. They hate each other so much, and they're obsessed with each other.
Yes. It's a bit bizarre.
Who are these podcasts?